Hello everyone, welcome back. In our previous lesson, we looked at 10 theorems of a circle. So if you have not gone through the last lesson, do well to go through it. In this lesson, we're going to be applying the theorems we learned in our previous video. Now we're going to apply those theorems to a typical WAEC question. Now look at the question before us. This is one of the questions given in WAEC. And the question says, in the diagram below, A, B, C, and D, A, B, C, and D lie on the circumference of the circle. So this is the circumference of the circle, and we have A, B, C, and D lying on the circumference of the circle. With center O, this is the center of the circle. It has O as its label. This is the center of the circle. Now, given that angle, this symbol stands for angle BAD is 40 degrees. This is the 40 degrees. Angle BAD is 40 degrees. That is what is given. And we are also given that angle DBC is 25 degrees. Look at it, DBC is 25 degrees. So now we are now asked to calculate angle BOD. So where will angle BOD fall? Angle BOD, that's the angle at the center. The angle is going to be at this very point. Angle BOD. Okay, so let me mark this very angle. This is where the angle will be formed. So we're asked to find this very angle. Now let me call this very angle Y. Okay, we're looking for it. All right. Now take note, I want you to take note of something, that whenever you're asked to find angle DB, just like we have here DBC, now always take note that the angle will fall at the letter that is in the middle. Look at here, we have DBC. So the angle is falling at point B, that is the one in the middle. Now look at this very place, we are also given BAD. A is in the middle, so this 40 degrees will fall at point A. But it is important you trace it so that you know the triangle that it will fall in. So BAD, let's trace it now. BAD. So A is in the middle, and that is where the angle will be formed. And this is why this very one they ask us to find now will also fall. The angle will fall in the middle, that is point O. BOD. So this is BOD. So the angle is going to be formed there. Okay, so how do we find the angle at this very point? Angle Y. 2 times the angle here is going to be the angle at the center. So please make sure you don't forget this theorem. Okay, so it means that Y is going to be equal to 2 times 40 degrees. So Y would then be equal to 80 degrees. This is just what it means. So meaning that the angle at this very point is going to be what? 80 degrees. So that's the angle that is going to be at the center, 80 degrees. So just imagine now that this place is 20 degrees. Assuming that the angle here is 20 degrees, what do you think will be the angle at the center? The angle at the center is going to be 2 times 20, and that is going to give you 40. So that is theorem number 3. Okay, so do well to review that theorem we looked at. So the angle here is going to be equal to 80 degrees, applying theorem 3. All right, that the angle at the center is going to be 2 times the angle at the circumference. That is what the law states. The angle at the center is going to be 2 times the angle at the circumference. So that is why we multiply this by 2, because theorem number 3 of circle theorem number 3 states that angle at the center is 2 times the angle at the circumference. So the angle here is 80 degrees. All right, now Let's now find out how to calculate this next question. Here you are asked to calculate, find angle OBD. Angle OBD. Now let's trace it in the diagram. This is our O, B, and D. Alright, let's trace it again. O, B, and D. So meaning that the angle is going to be at this point B, and the angle is going to be here. So it means we are asked to find this very angle. Let me label this angle X. Let me call this very angle here X. So angle OBD is X. Alright. Now how do we find X? I want you to take note that this is a radius, and this is also the radius of the circle. So they are going to be equal to each other. This line here is equal to this very line here. So if I bring out a triangle that is formed, that is triangle, look at this triangle that is formed here. Okay, now we'll have triangle, this side is equal, this side is equal, and we'll have an angle formed there, which will go to be 80 degrees, right? And we are asked to find the angle here, which is X. Now this triangle is O, B, and D. Now if you notice, this triangle is an isosceles triangle. This radius, of course radius must be equal. So this is forming an isosceles triangle. And one of the properties of isosceles triangle is that the base angles must be equal. The angle that is formed here and the angle that is formed here will be equal to each other. So if this point is X, this point will also be X. Okay. Why? Because it is an isosceles triangle. In an isosceles triangle, the base angles will be equal because the two sides are equal to each other. Now, remember that the property of a triangle says that the sum of the angle inside a triangle is equal to 180. So it means that X plus this very X plus 80 is going to be equal to 180 degrees. Okay, so this X plus X is giving us 2X plus 80 is equal to 180 degrees. So collecting like terms, I have that 2x is equal to 180 minus 80 degrees. So this is giving us that 2x is equal to 100 degrees. Alright, let me find my x. To find my x, what do? I will divide both sides by 2. So I will divide this by 2, divide this by 2. This will cancel this. I will have my x remaining. Okay, and when these divide this, I have 50 degrees. So it means that the angle we are looking for is actually 50 degrees. Okay, so it means that the angle here, X, is going to be 50 degrees. So angle OBD is going to be 50 degrees. Okay, so here is going to be 50 degrees. So answer this question, we've also answered this very question. All right, now if here is 50 degrees, this side will also be what? 50 degrees. Why? Because an isosceles triangle is formed there. Okay, now let us now find angle BDC. BDC. Where do you think this angle will be formed? Remember, D is at the center or in the middle of these three letters. So the angle will be formed here. This is it, B. Then from B, we'll have B to D, then to C. So we're looking at this very triangle here, BDC. BDC. So the angle is formed at this very point. This is the angle we are asked to find. So let me label this very angle. What do I call this angle now? Should we call it P? All right, let me label this angle here P. That's the angle we are asked to find. Okay. Now, before we can be able to find this angle, there is another property or theorem of circle that we're going to look at. Okay. And that is theorem number 6 that we looked at in our previous video. Theorem number 6. And that theorem says that when you have a cyclic quadrilateral, look at this. There is a quadrilateral that is inscribed in this very circle. Quadrilateral, remember, is a four-sided plane shape. Now we have four sides: 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, and that theorem says that the angle at this point and the angle at this point will be supplementary angle. Supplementary means that when you add the angle you have here and the angle you have here, is going to be equal to 180 degrees. So you see this cyclic quadrilateral, these vertices, the point, this very point, the opposite angles are supplementary. Angle here plus the angle here is supplementary, meaning it will be equal to 180. Likewise, the angle that is formed at this point here and the angle that is formed at this point here, when you add those two angles, they will also be supplementary. So that is what that theorem is saying. Okay, so if we apply that theorem now, we'll then have that angle here is equal plus the angle here will be equal to 180. Now let me label the angle that is formed here. Let me label it, let me just say it is y. Okay, let me label it y. So following the theorem of cyclic quadrilaterals, it means that 40 plus y is equal to 180 degrees. Remember, the theorem again says that the sum of the opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral is equal to 180 degrees. So we can easily find our y. Now, my y is going to be 180 minus 40 degrees. So y is going to be, thinking, 140 degrees. So it means that the angle at this very point now, y, is 140 degrees. 140 degrees. That's the angle I have forming there now. So since we've gotten this angle and we have gotten this angle, we know this angle already which is given, then we can easily find the angle P which we're asked to find here. Okay, so how do I find it? Sum of the angle in a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. So it means that in triangle DCB, now let me draw that out. This is a triangle we have. We have triangle D, okay, something like this. This is what we have here, and we'll have here to be 140 degrees, 140 degrees, and we're given here to be 25 degrees, and we're asked to find the angle here. So sum of the angle in a triangle, of course, is 180. So I have that 140 plus 25 plus P is equal to 180 degrees. So this then means if I add up this, I think I have 165 plus P is equal to 180 degrees. So my P is then 180 degrees minus 165 degrees. So what is my value of P? P is now 15 degrees. This is not the value of P. So the angle at this point, P, is now what? 15 degrees. That's the value of the angle here. So, and this answers this very question, 15 degrees. So we've been able to attempt this very question, WAEC question. Remember, the first question is that we should find the angle at this very point, angle BOD, and we're able to invoke theorem 3, and we said that theorem states that the angle at the center is going to be 2 times the angle at the circumference. Please, if you have not reviewed that lesson, do well to go through that lesson. All right, and we've also been able to calculate the angle that is formed at this point, because an isosceles triangle is formed there. So we're able to find the angle at this point. Okay, the angle here is 50. Here will also be 50, because in an isosceles triangle, the base angles will be equal. All right. So We also were able to apply the theorem of cyclic quadrilateral, which says that the edges of a quadrilateral, this is a quadrilateral that is formed, the opposite angles, when you add them up, it will be equal to 180 degrees. So we invoked that law here and applied it to find this very angle that is at this very point. All right. So guys, if you love this video, please don't forget to subscribe and to like our video so that we can grow. Thank you. So expect more videos on WAEC. Check our previous videos. Love you all. Thanks.